All right, seventh graders, we didn't quite have enough time to get to our simple interest formula. So one of these days, you're going to want to borrow money from a bank. So if you're going to ask for a car loan, well, let's say you borrow $7,000 from the bank. Well, do you get to only pay back $7,000? No, you do not. They will charge you interest on that loan. Okay. So if you take out a loan and they charge you what is called simple interest, the way they figure out how much interest you pay is by using this formula. So the amount of interest they charge you is equal to the principal. That P stands for principal, which is how much money you're asking for, times the rate. So they might say, okay, we'll give you $7,000 at a rate of 6%, and we're going to let you have this loan is going to be over a 3-year period. Okay, so they're going to multiply the principal times that interest rate times time, and time always has to be in years. So you got to be careful, because if they say you have to have this paid back in 6 months, well, then your time would be 0.5, half a year, right? Because 6 months is half a year. So that time always is compared to the years, not the months, but the years. All right, so let's look at an example. To buy a computer, Glenn borrowed $3,000 at 9% interest for 4 years. How much interest did he pay? Well, our formula makes it easy for us. It tells us exactly what to do. Interest is equal to the principal times the rate as a decimal times time as years. So our principal is $3,000 times the rate as a decimal. 9% is 0.09. So we're going to multiply by 0.09, and they're going to give you 4 years to pay it back. So we get to just throw that right into our calculator. 3,000 times 0.09 times 4. You're going to pay $1,080 in interest only. Now, you got to be careful. Once again, you got to read the question carefully. Sometimes they'll ask only for the interest, which is this amount. Sometimes they'll say, how much money total does Glenn have to pay the bank back? How much does he have to pay the bank? Well, he has to give them back the $3,000 he borrowed. So he has to give them $3,000 plus the amount of interest they charged him. So for the bank giving him $3,000, he has to turn around and pay the bank back $4,080. That's why you got to be careful. You got to pay your loans. You want to not borrow money you don't need, or save up your money and pay cash for things, because interest adds a lot to how much you have to pay back. Okay, so be careful as you get into adulthood. There's a lot of things to consider. All right, so once again, they have shown you the formula. They tell you what each one of those letters stand for. They tell you how to multiply, and the answer is $1,080 in interest. All right, Victor is taking out a car loan for $5,000 with 3% interest. If Victor has paid $300 in interest by the end of the loan, how long did it take him to pay back the loan? All right, so we're going to always start with our formula. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Well, this time they're telling us that the interest Victor paid back was $300. So instead of we're going to write 300. Do we know our principal? Do we know how much Victor borrowed? Yes, we know it's $5,000. Do we know at what rate? Yes, we do. 3% as a decimal is 0.03. But do we know how much time? We don't. So we're going to leave t as a variable. So now what can we simplify? Well, we can simplify right here. We can do 5,000 times 0.03, and that is $150, or excuse me, it's not $150, it's 150 times t. 150 times t is t, 150 t. And now we're going to solve for t. So what's the opposite of multiplying by 150? We're going to divide both sides by 150. So 300 divided by 150 is 2. So how long did it take him to pay back his loan? It took him 2 years. Okay, so you plug in what they give you and you solve for what they do not give you. And of course, you guys have access to my slide deck as well. It took him 2 years to pay back his loan. All right, so here are 4 good questions. I want you guys to try them. I'm going to do them with you in just a minute. The answers are on the next page. So I want you to pause the video, see if you can figure these out yourself. You will see these type of questions again. All right, so I hope you guys tried them on your own. So Katie puts $580 into a savings account. So that would be the principal. The account has a 3% interest rate. How much interest will she earn in 5 years? So we don't know our interest. We know that she's taken out $580. We know the rate is 0.03. And we know she's keeping it in there for 5 years. So all we have to do is multiply 580 times 0.03 times 5. So the answer is she earned $87 by leaving her money in the bank for 5 years at 3% interest. So she earned money. So that's great. All right. Tristan's parents borrowed $6,300 from the bank for a new car. You can't get a new car for $6,300 anymore. I promise you that. The interest rate is 6% per year. How much simple interest will they pay if they take 2 years to repay the loan? Okay. So we're going to start with our formula. Our principal is 6,300. Our rate is 0.06. And we're going to pay back in 2 years, one lump sum at the end of 2 years. So we're going to do 6,300 times 0.06 times 2. At the end of the 2 years, when they pay back their money, they're going to owe $756 in taxes, plus how much they borrowed. Maggie's taking out a student loan for $2,600. She plans on paying off the loan at the end of 3 years. At the end of 3 years, Maggie will have paid $390 in interest. What was the rate? That's a good one. So let's start with our formula. Do they tell us how much how much interest she paid? Yep, they tell us that she paid $390 in interest. They tell us her loan amount was $2,600. We don't know our rate, but we know that she paid off this loan in 3 years. So now what can we do on this line here? We can simplify by multiplying 2,600 times 3, and 2,600 times 3 times R is 7,800 R. 390. Now to solve for R, we're going to divide both sides by 7,800. We're dividing 390 by 7,800. And I got 0.05. Now that's our decimal, but remember we always give our rate as a percent. So the last thing we do is move that decimal 2 places to the right and we get 5%. That's our rate. Okay. And the last one, Pearlie puts $1,500 into the savings account. That is a principal. The account pays 2.5% interest. How much money will she have in her savings account at the end of 3 years? So we want to know how much total is in the account at the end of 3 years. So the principal plus the interest at the end of 3 years. So we don't know how much the interest is yet. We know her principal is $1,560 times 2.5. I'm sorry, I didn't turn that into a decimal, you guys. Oh my goodness. 0.01225. Sorry, I need more room. Y'all can't even read this. PRT. All right, so her principal is 1,560. Our rate is 0.025, which you still can't read that, times 3 years. So we're going to put that in our calculator. 1,560 times 0.025 times 3. So she's going to earn $117 in interest, but she didn't take this money out, right? So we're going to add how much she has in there plus the interest she earned to find out how much money is in the bank at the end of 3 years. And the grand total is $1,677. Okie dokie. I hope you guys got them right. Let me see. Yep, looks good. All right, that was it. So you guys on Thursday, your assignment does have simple interest problems. So these should help you. And then on Friday, you're going to combine everything we talked about in class today and from this video. So you guys let me know if you have any questions, and I will check in with you guys later.